Hi, Orange Girl here with another scrapbooking process video for you. I am participating in the Holly Jolly Holiday Hop with YouTube crafters, and we are giving away this free cut file that Ashley Horton designed. I am using all of the trees on this cut file. There's one that's in the circle, and then there's one that's just a tree. And that tree paper there that you just saw was inspiration for my colors. I just loved that tree paper. And so I made a big one and a little one, a smaller one of this cut file with all the circles. And my idea was to go ahead and do some stitching around some of the circles, not all of the circles. And so I'm just taking my paper piercer and piercing, and then I did all the stitching off camera. I just did a straight stitch, nothing too big, and then that's all I really know that I wanted to do. I found as I was going through papers for my background, I found these two strips with my papers that I'm using, and I thought they might look good at the bottom of the page, just kind of to give these trees something to sit on. I am working with some items mostly out of a kit, the December kit, or maybe it's a holiday kit. I think it's a December kit from Paper Issues, and I will link that below. These alphas came from there, and all of the papers that I'm using and embellishments. The thing that did not come from there was any wood veneers or color cast designs that I ended up using. I pulled a bunch of color cast designs, acrylics from my stash. You'll see that in a little bit. I don't end up using these lights that you see there, but my thought was I was going to dangle some things from the top. And so I do end up doing that, but not yet. So I was going to use sequins, and then I kind of mess around with it a little bit, and I'm not totally liking it, and so I end up walking away and coming back, I think actually even on a different day, and I make some decisions about what to do about the top there in a little bit. So basically, I just went ahead and stitched around several of the circles, and I used those colors that you saw at the beginning. So there's like a pink, an orange, a yellow, kind of an aqua color, and a green that matches kind of the background of this, and a blue. And so I used those different colors and just kind of, I don't know, spread them out around the tree, kind of to look like ornaments was my thought. And so now I know I'm going to probably basically do that design that I just showed you. And so I'm going to just go ahead and start gluing some things down. I decided to frame the whole thing rather than framing it with a color. I end up framing it with just white cardstock. And when I cut this, I was thinking I was going to frame it all the way around with white cardstock. And then I thought, oh, maybe red, or it's kind of a pink red. And then I decided I still wanted the white, but I didn't want the bottom to be framed. So I took a little piece of that red paper and I sliced it off, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of my paper. So first I need to cut it, yeah, like that. And then I'm going to add it to the white paper and then glue it on down. Okay, so let's see what's left. So I stitched around those ornaments kind of on the tree, and I toyed with the idea of putting some backing the cut file with some paper, and I decided it might start to get a little too busy, especially if I end up doing things like dangling things from the top. So I decided I kind of also liked the green that was coming through, and so I just went ahead and left it open. And then that right there is going to be kind of my basic design. And then I decided that I wanted this little tree. I cut several of the little trees. And in the cut file, the free cut file, you'll see that they're actually, that little tree is in the middle of a big circle cut file. And I decided that I didn't want them all, but I did want at least one of them. And so I'm going to use these papers to back almost in a rainbow the tree. Now, the paper that you see me using there is actually from Gearle. It's like a box of crayons, maybe, collection. And mainly I was just looking for a good orange because I didn't have a lot of good orange. And, or any, which is funny because it's my favorite color. But part of it is because there isn't always, a lot of the oranges out there are peachy right now. And so that's part of it. But then also when I find an orange that I like, I use it. And so, a lot of it's been used on other layouts. So I found this alphabet sheet in one of the 6x6 pads. Now, I also have, you see right behind what I'm gluing here, I don't know why I'm doing this on the 6x6 pad. It's the Take Me Away Pink Paisley. I looked through that to try to find something that I liked, so that's why it was on my desk. And so that's why I'm using it kind of as something to glue upon, which is kind of silly. I don't really know why I'm doing that. I think it was because I was excited that I found paper and I just started working and I didn't think about that I was filming. So sorry about that. I mean, you can see it, but it's just kind of weird. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little bit of glue, liquid glue around it and then gluing it down. And I'm not worrying about trimming it till the very end. And then I just trim it all. So that was a pretty easy cut file to to back. So let's see, what else do I have to tell you here? The story. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm kind of in the middle of doing December daily right now too. So you might have seen the last couple of videos have been some of my progress on that. Well, last year I had created a template and put some journaling in the template about what was going on in December daily. And I used that template to do some of my typed journaling. So because of that, I had that template, I had some journaling in there from when we decorated the tree last year. I completely forgot that it was last year and not this year. So the journaling that I'm putting on this paper at the end is actually journaling from last year. But it's okay. It doesn't really matter. I will note it like on the back that I created it with the 2018 tree, but that the journaling is about 2017. So off camera there, I made a decision and I got out. I really actually thought I was on camera, but I wasn't. I took away all the sequins and I decided to put acrylic stars on instead. And I like the way that looks so much better than the sequins. They just look like they're just dangling from the sky here in a second. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making a dot where each of those are going to sit. And then I'm going to take off camera, I'm going to take my sewing machine and I'm going to sew straight down from the top white lines with my sewing machine, and at the bottom of those lines will be the little stars. So before I do that, I'm just going to glue down some of the stuff that I had ready here. Like I wanted to put these acrylic stars at the top of my trees and then just kind of move everything over. So when I was finding the acrylic stars to put at the top of my trees, there I'm telling you what I was going to do, so with my fingers. So there's the stitching, just a simple stitch, and I did a little stitching at the bottom. And then now I'm going to start really gluing stuff down to the background. So while I was getting the acrylic stars out for the tops of my trees, I went ahead and found all those other little stars, and that's kind of how that little accident happened, where I decided to switch it to stars instead of sequins. It's fun how when you're working on something and you have kind of an idea in your head of how you want it to look, and then little accidents or little things happen and you're like, oh, this is way better. And that's kind of what happened with the sequins. I like the idea of the sequins and the shiny, and I do end up adding some sequins, but I really, really like the idea of the stars. So So what I'm doing now is I'm making some layers behind my photograph. I decided since the rest of it was, I didn't back the file and there aren't a lot of layers and I'm kind of a layers girl, I needed to put some layers, a few layers behind my photo. So I found some other papers from the Paper Issues kit and I'm just cutting some straight and then some I'm ripping and just wanting to add some color behind there. So I'm using that same kind of red that it's a pink red kind of that is from the that I put on the bottom of the layout. And then I found this Santa paper that has a great pop of pink. I didn't really need the Santas on it. I didn't care if the Santas were showing or not. So mostly I just wanted that pink pop of pink. And then I found this piece of yellow in my scraps that I used also to add a pop of yellow there. And then that little circle is going to kind of cover up the chair in my photo because I don't really need the chair. It's kind of distracting. And so I decided that I would just cover that up with something. Originally, I was thinking it might be a tree. So I'm roughing up my edges here. And since I decided not to add that other tree, I found this little circle. It says Joy to the World, and it's that green color, so it worked perfectly. And it was in the ephemera pack that came in the Paper Issues kit. And I can't remember what, I feel like that was Kaiser Crafts, but I'm not sure. So I will link the kit below so you can kind of take a look at what some of the papers are and the embellishments in there. So now I've arranged my everything really, and I'm going to just start gluing stuff down. So I think I might have sped this up a little bit more, but it doesn't look like it's doing that, so maybe I didn't. I'm just using, people always ask me what kind of adhesive that I'm using in my glue bottle. I am using the Scotch tacky glue or quick dry glue. I'm using that to in a bottle, and the bottle is a fine liner bottle with the yellow cap, and it works perfectly. I don't have to water it down or anything like that. It's the perfect consistency to work in that bottle. The only thing is you have to make sure you get that lid on right away, otherwise it will dry out, and then you've got to, it's kind of a pain. You have to soak it in water and all of that. So or buy a new one. So I got out my T-square there to get Deck the Hall, my title, straight. And now I'm going to start adding stuff in here and gluing stuff down. I decided that I needed to use the glue bottle instead of using just a, here I thought about popping that up. And as I started cutting all of the adhesive to put on the back to pop that tree up, I was like, nope, this is not going to work because there's just too many holes. So I thought about using just my regular tape runner adhesive to put these down, and I decided that because of all that stitching on the trees, I would need to use the glue. It just will, the liquid adhesive will just hold it down a little bit better. Then I'm just putting my little trash, my little trash container that I keep on my desk, just putting that on to hold the tree down a little bit. And now the last couple minutes here, I'm just going to be gluing everything down. I did put a little extra glue where the stitching is on each of those trees just to help it be a little bit more likely to stick down. So I used kind of an orange, a pink, a white, and a blue for my stars, and I kind of did the same thing on top of the tree stars. Here's a little tangled thread. I'm going to put some tangled thread because every layout has to have tangled thread. I'm going to put a little tangled thread behind that little piece of ephemera there. And I think I add a little star down there too. Oh, I decided that I would pop this off the page just for a little dimension, and that worked out really well. It always works nice, especially when you have the thread behind it, because it just gives it a little dimension, a little bit of shadow too. I like that. So my this little guy right here is from the ephemera pack as well, and it's just some little lights. It was a cute little embellishment to add. Like I tried to go pretty simple as far as layers and adding embellishments because I did so many so much stitching and so many colors, and then these stars as well. I'm having a really hard time getting that circle to stick down. I have no idea why. For some reason it just did not want to stick. Then I'm going to add this little orange star at the bottom just to kind of bring the stars kind of down to the bottom of the page. And then I was looking at it and I was like, it's still a little plain. Like I didn't want to go over the top too much, but I decided I wanted to put something in those little circles. So I end up putting some sequins in the little circles, and I cut some of this out because it was taking forever because the sequins kept sticking to my fingers. And so you're going to see me cut away here in just a second, and then I'll come back and glue everything down. But what I was thinking about as I was putting these out is I wanted to put color around the page. I wanted to find the right size of sequins to put it down. And then I'm using my liquid adhesive. It works really well for sequins, especially since it's in the fine liner bottle. So, and that, let's see, I'm trying to think. Okay, so then I told you about my journaling, right? So my journaling is going to be attached here in a minute as well. And what I do for that often is sometimes I'll use my own handwriting, but when I have a little bit more journaling that I want to do, I I'll type it either on my typewriter, or in this case, I actually had typed it up on my computer and printed it out using my printer. And then I cut it into strips and add it. And I'm going to add it to the bottom. And you can hardly even see it. So like when you see the final pictures, if you aren't looking for it, you won't even know that it's there really. So I didn't feel too bad or rip it all apart when I realized that I put the wrong journaling on the page. So there's my journal strips. I've already cut it apart, and now I'm just going to glue it down. And the journaling is, it says favorite quotes for the day, and then there are 3 quotes that my daughter said on that day that were very funny, like, "It's all coming together, Dad," I think she said when he walked in the room. And when we opened the box of ornaments, she was like, "It smells like Christmas. I love that smell." You know, she was so excited about decorating the Christmas tree. And that was, like I said, last year, even though this is this year's tree, because I am silly. But anyway, so I'm just going to add my journaling there, and that's about it. The last thing that will come up here are a whole bunch of close-ups so that you can see the colors a little bit better, and the stitching and all of that. And it's not perfect, but I like the way it looks. It looks kind of whimsical, and there you go. There's the close-ups. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope you check out the other ladies' works that they have done for this hop. And if you're new to my channel, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to see new people, and I would love to, if you have any questions, to go ahead and comment, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Thanks a lot.